Yeah, this is your boy Precision Connections at PrecisionConnectionsAuto.com. Today we got a 2003 Honda Accord where I incorporated a Viper 4103V with the bypass of a FL CAN flash logic module. I'm just going to show you guys the basic wiring. I probably did this car already. There's probably a video floating around with this car, but I want to do this car more in detail, especially with the FL CAN units, which is really a nice piece by Audio Vox. I guess it's popular amongst you guys nowadays. Alright, having said all that, let's jump right into the installation. Well, on the 2003 Honda Accord, you can get basically everything from the fuse box, which is in the driver's kick panel. This harness right here is the actual ignition harness that runs or routes all the way through the firewall to the steering column. You'll notice it's the same colors that's right here in this brown plug that ends up down here at this green plug. I like to get everything in the fuse box because it makes the installation more simple and nice and neat and pretty, like myself. But anyways, let's go on with the breakdown of the wiring. I like to start with 12 volts, which on the Honda is your white wire, and I connected these two red wires that's going into the 4103. Next up is this black with the yellow stripe wire, which is your first ignition, which connects to your pink wire on the remote start unit. Next to that is your white with the red stripe on it. I don't know if you guys can see it. Good, let me try to focus the camera a little better. That's the accessory wire. That's going to turn on your cigarette lighter, your radio, etc., etc. Next to that wire, you got this black with the red stripe, which is your second ignition. That's your miscellaneous stuff, your wiper blades, your heater, motor, air conditioning system, those kind of things. And this thick black or white stripe wire is your starter wire. I like to incorporate starter kill relays even in my remote start units, even if the car doesn't even have an alarm system. I like to put the starter kill relay. This is just a precaution, so if the car is running and the customer enters the car and he forgets that the remote start is on and he tries to crank the engine, it won't. The starter kill will block that from happening, because if he overturns that engine, he might damage the flywheel after a couple of mishaps or whatever. So you don't want that. You don't want your installation contributing to the downfall of someone's car. Alright, having said all that, we're done with the ignition portion, the remote start. Now it's the little miscellaneous connections. Right here is your little brown wire that connects to the white with the black stripe on it, which is your brake. On the DEI Viper system, the brake wire is always brown, as well as the horn output, so you gotta make sure you don't mix those two wires up. Alright, you got parking light, which is in this harness up here. I don't know if you guys can see it. The white wire right here is parking light coming out of the remote start unit, and it's feeding into the car's I hate low light situations. Let me see if I can get a light, get more light in this situation. Okay, This white wire is feeding into this red with a black stripe wire in the fuse box, going into this last plug, which is your parking light. You can grab, that's your positive parking light, just to be more specific. You have negative parking light at the steering column, but I like to grab the positive whenever I can. Under that, you have another harness, which I took the liberty of unplugging for you guys. Oh, this harness is blocking my way. You see where this empty thing is right here? It's a little plug slot. This is your door lock data that connects to your FL CAN system. The wire on that is this brown with the red stripe on it. That's gonna do your door locks, your digital data system. Gonna do your digital door locks. And that's all that. Now we can go into the actual bypass unit, which is the FL CAN by AudioVox. On your Honda, you have the immobilizer module, which is this module right here. And how this module works is there's a core wire around this whole key cylinder thing, and inside the actual key there's a chip that the immobilizer is going to energize. It's called a transponder unit, and that transponder unit is going to send back a signal. The definition of a transponder unit is a receiver, a transmitter receiver module. So it transmits as well as receives. So when it goes into this transponder unit as an analog signal, then it converts that analog signal into a digital signal through these wires right here. Then my little FL CAN unit is going to intercept those digital data signals and feed it back to the car's ECM during the remote start process. So it's basically going to trick the car's computer into thinking there's a key in the car when there's actually not a key in the car. And that's how the FL CAN works. The difference between the FL CAN system and the DEI system, DEI makes a XK05, is that the FL CAN is really simple to install. It's easier to use. The wiring is uniform. They never change up the wiring on the FL CAN. So it's easy to memorize all these wires to use on multi-vehicles. So a lot of people are more comfortable using the FL CAN. I prefer using the DEI XKO modules or whatever, Express Kit modules. I'm pretty much old school, so I feel more comfortable in using those, even though I'm versatile and I can use anything. Alright, let's go. Let me explain the wires now. Pretty much you got 7-pin data wire right here, or data harness. What each wire does, I'm going to break that down for you right now to give you a full understanding on how the transponder system works on a Honda Accord, or any Honda in particular. This wire right here is the signal ground. This is it's called a GND ref wire. It's a ground reference wire, the negative reference wire, which is your brown with yellow stripe. Next to that is your data. So this is going to throw out ones and zeros. That's referencing off of this wire right here, the brown with yellow stripe wire. These two wires are voltage biasing wires, which is going to detect any voltage changes between the ECM and the immobilizer unit. So for instance, if the battery is at 8 volts, this wire is going to measure that voltage and let the transponder unit calculate the best reference voltage between these two wires, between the data wire and the ground reference wire. These wires, you never really use them, it's not necessary. The FL can has the voltage regulation built into it, as well as the XKO 5 DEI bypass module. This wire right here is your ignition, which is your black with the yellow stripe on it. That's just going to let the FL can knows that there's an ignition signal during programming or remote start mode or whatever. This is another reference wire or biasing wire. This wire right here is your key light signal. That's going to show if the key was accepted or not accepted, and that's going to illuminate on the instrument cluster. That's pretty much it with the bypasser unit. Now let's test the thing to see if it works.